My mom announced, "Your sister gets the car, you get money," handing me $200 while my sister got a $45,000 Audi. I just smiled and handed them a single sheet of paper. By the time they finished reading, they couldn't breathe. It was a default notice on the $70,000 emergency loan they'd spent on cruises and cars. I, 27F, have always been the responsible one, the planner, the saver, the one who doesn't need help. My sister Maya, 25F, has always been the golden child, the fun one, the pretty one, the one who needs extra support. This pattern has been going on for as long as I can remember. When we were kids, Maya would get the latest toys, newest clothes, and elaborate birthday parties. I'd get practical gifts, hand-me-downs, and small family gatherings. Mom would always say, "You're so mature, Alina, you understand." And I did understand. I understood perfectly. When college came around, I worked 3 jobs and got scholarships. My parents contributed exactly $0 to my education. Maya, full ride from mom and dad, plus spending money, a new laptop every year, and an apartment off campus because dorms are too stressful. Still, we maintained a decent relationship. I kept quiet, built my life, and stayed civil at family gatherings. I followed the unspoken rule: don't rock the boat. After graduation, I moved a 4-hour drive away, built a successful career in financial planning, and created a life for myself. I called on birthdays and holidays, visited twice a year, and kept things pleasant but distant. Meanwhile, Maya stayed in our hometown, bouncing between jobs, apartments, and relationships, with mom and dad always there to bail her out. Now to Christmas dinner 2024. I drove home for the holidays, as I do every other year. The evening started normally. Awkward small talk, mom bragging about Maya's new job, her 3rd this year, but none lasting more than 4 months, dad drinking too much eggnog and telling the same stories. Then came gift exchange time. Mom handed Maya a small box. Inside were car keys to a brand new Audi parked in the driveway. Maya screamed, cried, hugged mom and dad. "You guys are literally the best parents ever, I can't believe it." Then mom turned to me with a small envelope. "You get money," she said flatly, like she was announcing the weather. I opened it. A check for $200, let that sink in. My sister got a $45,000 car, I got $200. Now I don't need their money. I make 6 figures and have a solid investment portfolio. But the blatant favoritism still stung. "Thanks," I said quietly, tucking the check into my purse. "Well, you're good with money," mom said with a shrug. "Maya needs reliable transportation for her new job, you understand." That's when something inside me just clicked. I reached into my bag and pulled out a single sheet of paper I'd been carrying for months, unsure if I'd ever use it. I smiled, handed it to them, and waited. As they read it, their faces went through a fascinating transformation. Confusion, shock, disbelief, panic. You see, 6 months ago, my parents called me in a panic. They needed $70,000 for emergency house repairs before winter. The foundation was crumbling. The roof was leaking, something about mold. They'd been denied a home equity loan due to dad's recent retirement and their existing debt. Banks aren't keen on lending to people in their situation. I had the money. I offered to help, but with conditions, a formal loan agreement with repayment terms. They balked at this. "We're family," mom said, offended, but I insisted. They reluctantly agreed, signed the paperwork, and I transferred the funds. The sheet of paper I handed them at Christmas was a notice of default on that loan, along with proof of what they actually spent the money on. A luxury cruise, $18,000 new furniture, $17,000, and a significant chunk toward what I now realized was Maya's new car, $30,000, likely a substantial down payment. The remaining $5,000 had gone to various smaller expenses. I had statements showing transfers to their personal accounts. There was no emergency, no foundation issues, no roof repairs. "What is this?" Dad sputtered. "It's exactly what it looks like," I replied calmly. "You defaulted on our loan agreement. As per the terms you signed, I'm calling in the full amount plus interest. You have 30 days to pay or I'll place a lien on your house." "But we're family," Mom whispered, her voice shaking. "Yes, we are. And family doesn't lie about emergency house repairs to fund cruises and cars for their favorite child." I stood up, grabbed my coat. "By the way, I just donated that $200 check to the local women's shelter. Seemed like they needed it more than I do." Maya started crying. Dad turned red. Mom looked like she might faint. "Merry Christmas," I said, walking out the door. I'm currently in my hotel room, ignoring the 27 missed calls and 43 text messages blowing up my phone. I took an extra day off work to deal with this situation, as I knew the fallout would require some time. For the first time in my life, I've stopped understanding. I've stopped accepting. I've stopped being the responsible one who makes sacrifices so Maya can have what she wants. I don't know what happens next, but I know I'm done being second best. Update 1, 3 days after Christmas. First off, thanks for all the support on my last post. Reading your comments made me feel less crazy about the whole situation. It's been 72 hours since I walked out of Christmas dinner, and things have escalated in ways I didn't anticipate. I extended my time away from work through the new year to deal with this. Sometimes personal emergencies have to take priority. The calls and texts continued non-stop the first day, mostly variations of "how could you" and "we need to talk now." I didn't respond to any of them. By day 2, the tone shifted dramatically. "Mom, we didn't technically lie about the house repairs. We were planning to fix things, but then decided the cruise was important for our mental health after Dad's retirement." The car was a necessity for Maya. How is she supposed to keep this job without reliable transportation? You know, public transit is terrible here. Maya: "I had no idea where the car money came from. This isn't fair to me." I continued my silence, which apparently drove them nuts. Yesterday, around 3 p.m., I got an email from Mom with "emergency read now" in the subject line. The emergency was that Maya was having panic attacks about potentially losing her new car, and they needed me to fix this situation immediately. I finally responded with a single line: "The terms of our agreement are clearly stated in the paperwork you signed." That's when things got interesting. Around 6 p.m., my Aunt Sarah, Mom's sister, called. We've always been close. She's witnessed the favoritism over the years but never openly acknowledged it. "Your mom asked me to talk sense into you," she began. I prepared for more guilt-tripping. Instead, she surprised me. "I told her I couldn't do that because you're absolutely right." She revealed that my parents haven't just been playing favorites with their money. They've been lying to the entire family about me for years. Apparently, Mom has been telling everyone that she and Dad paid for my college education, helped with the down payment on my condo, and regularly send me substantial financial support. Meanwhile, they've portrayed Maya as struggling despite their modest help. The reality? I paid for everything myself, while they've bankrolled Maya's entire adult life. Aunt Sarah had discovered the truth last year when she mentioned my college fund to me, and I looked genuinely confused. Since then, she'd started paying closer attention and noticed the pattern. "The whole family thinks you're ungrateful," she explained. "Your mom has been painting this picture that you take and take but never appreciate anything." I was floored. The betrayal went deeper than I thought. This morning, I woke up to an email from my parents' neighbor, Marcus. He's a contractor who's done work for my parents for years. He explained that he'd been at their house last spring to give an estimate for some minor repairs nowhere near the $70,000 emergency they claimed. He'd quoted them $3,200 for everything, which they declined as too expensive right now. He included photos of their house from last week. No repairs done, but he noticed the new patio furniture and Maya's Audi in the driveway. He put 2 and 2 together after hearing from his wife, who works with my aunt, about the Christmas dinner drama. I thanked him for the information and added it to my documentation. Then came the bombshell. My cousin Jake sent screenshots from the family group chat, which I'm not part of. After my parents complained about my financial attack on them, Uncle David asked why they needed $70,000 for house repairs when his construction company had offered to fix their roof for free last summer, a family discount they declined because everything was fine. The conversation quickly unraveled from there, with my parents' story falling apart as family members compared notes. Mom's response: "Elena has always been difficult. She's trying to punish us because we've had to give Maya extra help over the years. The family isn't buying it anymore. I've scheduled a meeting with my lawyer for tomorrow to discuss next steps. I'm still planning to enforce the loan terms not out of vindictiveness, but because actions have consequences." Maya texted an hour ago, "Can we talk? Just you and me?" I'm considering it. Unlike our parents, she may genuinely not have known where the car money came from, but I'm not ready to let any of them off the hook just yet. We'll update after I meet with my lawyer. Update 2. 1 week later, I finally met with Maya at a coffee shop near my hotel 3 days ago. I was prepared for tears, manipulation, or anger. What I wasn't prepared for was honesty. "I've been thinking about things," she started, fidgeting with her cup. "About our whole lives, really." She admitted that she's always known about the favoritism, but benefited too much to question it. She confessed that she's never held a job longer than 4 months because she always knew our parents would bail her out. "I'm 25 and I have no idea how to be an actual adult," she said, tearing up. "I don't know how to budget, how to plan, how to do anything without someone rescuing me." She then said something that genuinely shocked me. "I'm working with the dealership about the car." Apparently, after I left Christmas dinner, she started asking questions about where the money came from, When she realized it was from the loan I gave them for emergency repairs, she was horrified. "They lied to you, they lied to me, they lied to everyone," she said, "and I'm done being part of it." According to Maya, our parents have been in financial trouble for years. Dad's retirement fund isn't nearly what they pretended it was. The cruise they took, charged to a credit card that was already maxed out. The new furniture, monthly payments they can barely afford. "They're drowning," she explained, "but they're so obsessed with keeping up appearances that they just keep digging themselves deeper." After our coffee, Maya called the dealership to discuss her options. Since the car had only been purchased a week earlier and she had barely driven it, they agreed to work with her on a return and exchange. She would take a $5,000 hit on depreciation and fees, but could put the remaining value toward a much more modest used car. She texted me a photo of her ongoing negotiations with the dealership as proof. Meanwhile, my lawyer sent a formal demand letter to my parents, giving them 30 days to either repay the loan or agree to a new payment plan with stricter terms. Their response came yesterday, not to me, but in another family-wide email, which multiple relatives forwarded to me. Mom claimed I was extorting them during a vulnerable time and that I never understood the sacrifices they made. Dad added that I was tearing the family apart over money. What they didn't expect was for Aunt Sarah to reply all with a detailed list of disparities in how my sister and I had been treated over the years, information she'd been gradually collecting since discovering the truth about my college fund lie. "If anyone doesn't understand sacrifice, it's you too," she wrote. "Alina built her life completely on her own while you convinced everyone she was riding your coattails." The family response has been illuminating. Some relatives are firmly on my side, others think I should forgive and forget because they're getting older, and a few are angry that I'm airing dirty laundry by enforcing a legal agreement. Uncle Mike, Dad's brother, called me yesterday. "Your father is proud," he said. "He won't admit he's wrong, especially not to you, but they don't have the money. They've been living beyond their means for years." He offered to mediate a new agreement, one where my parents acknowledge the truth to the family, commit to financial counseling, and make smaller, manageable payments over time. I'm considering it. Not because I need the money, but because I need them to acknowledge the pattern that's shaped our entire family dynamic. Maya and I have been talking more. She's applied for a job at a local bookstore minimum wage, but it's a start. She's looking at community college courses, small steps toward independence. "I always envied you," she told me yesterday. "Even with everything they gave me, I envied how capable you are." I don't know if my relationship with my parents can ever be repaired. The lies run too deep, the favoritism too ingrained. But something unexpected has come from this mess. My sister and I might actually develop a real relationship, one based on truth rather than the roles we were assigned. I'm driving home tomorrow. My lawyer will handle the financial aspects from here. I've said what needed to be said, stood up for myself after decades of silence. That single sheet of paper at Christmas dinner didn't just expose a financial deception. It tore down the facade our entire family dynamic was built on. Sometimes understanding isn't enough. Sometimes you have to stop accepting the unacceptable, even if it means watching everything fall apart before it can be rebuilt. I don't know what happens next, but for the first time, I'm not responsible for fixing everyone else's problems. And that feels like the best gift I could have given myself. Final update. 6 months later, it's been half a year since that Christmas dinner changed everything, and I've debated whether to post this final update. I'm doing it because so many of you have reached out asking how things turned out, and because writing this down feels like closing a chapter. First, the financial situation. After multiple discussions and 2 mediation sessions, we reached an agreement. My parents admitted they couldn't repay the full loan amount immediately, so we established a 5-year payment plan. They've made the first 6 monthly payments on time, each one accompanied by a formal email rather than the emotional manipulation they initially tried. The terms require them to pay $1,200 monthly, which covers both principal and interest over the 5-year period. The car? Maya took a $5,000 financial hit on the return and exchange deal with the dealership. She ended up with a used Honda for $15,000, which she's paying for herself through a legitimate bank loan, and has been learning about vehicle maintenance from YouTube tutorials. Small victories. The family dynamics have been the most complicated aspect. After the initial explosion, relatives chose sides. Some stopped speaking to me, calling me heartless for not helping family, no questions asked. Others reached out privately to share their own stories of being manipulated by my parents over the years. Mom and Dad tried damage control, telling extended family that I was going through something and that they were being patient with me during this difficult time. When that narrative failed, they briefly tried painting themselves as victims of my financial attack. Uncle Mike eventually sat them down and gave them a reality check. Their financial house of cards was collapsing, with or without my loan situation. They needed to make serious changes. 3 months ago, they finally sold their house and downsized to a condo. They've cut up credit cards, canceled club memberships, and started working with a financial advisor, a legitimate one, not the investment guru who had been giving Dad questionable advice for years. Our relationship, it's complicated. We've had 2 carefully structured conversations with a family therapist present. They're struggling to acknowledge the decades of favoritism, preferring to reframe it as responding to each daughter's different needs. But they have admitted to the financial deception regarding the loan, which feels like a start. The most significant change has been with Maya. Without our parents' safety net, she's had to develop skills she never needed before. She's held her bookstore job for 6 months now, a personal record. She's taking online courses in graphic design and has started building a portfolio. We talk weekly now, not about our parents, but about life, goals, challenges, real sister conversations. Last month, she drove 4 hours to visit me for a weekend. We went hiking, cooked dinner together, and stayed up too late watching bad reality TV. It wasn't perfect. We're still learning how to relate to each other outside our assigned family roles. But it was genuine. As for me, I've been working through this with my therapist. I've realized that while I appeared independent, I was still deeply affected by my family's dynamic. I built my life around proving I didn't need them, which is its own form of dependency. I'm learning to recognize my own worth outside of being the responsible one or the independent one. I received an unexpected email from Mom last week. No emotional manipulation, no guilt trips, just a simple acknowledgement. I'm beginning to understand how our actions affected you. I'm sorry it took a financial crisis for me to see it. It's not a full reckoning, and maybe that will never come. But it's something. The $70,000 loan. Honestly, I've made peace with the possibility that I might never see all of it repaid. The money wasn't really the point. What I couldn't put a price on was finally being seen and heard after a lifetime of being conveniently overlooked. That single sheet of paper I handed them at Christmas wasn't just about exposing a lie. It was about refusing to participate in the family fiction any longer. So here I am, 6 months later. My relationship with my parents is strained but evolving. My sister and I are building something new. The extended family has largely moved on to fresher drama. The most valuable thing I've gained isn't financial restitution, but something I should have claimed long ago. The right to set boundaries, to expect honesty, and to be treated with the same consideration given so freely to my sister. That's worth more than any amount of money or any luxury car. Thanks for following this journey. Whatever family dynamics you're navigating in your own life, I hope you find the courage to advocate for yourself when necessary. Sometimes the hardest confrontations lead to the most meaningful growth. I'm closing this chapter now, focusing forward rather than back. But I won't forget the lesson. Understanding doesn't always mean accepting. And sometimes a single sheet of paper can change everything.